Sanottu olkoon sinun nimetön. Tulkoon sinun valtakuntasi.
When I was in school, my favorite topic wasn't really the visual arts, but it was the essay writing, kind of the Finnish lectures, and that we had a chance to write. So film means for me, it's like the visuals, the sounds, and kind of it's a medium that responds, I think, most with the human senses, and then again there's also a chance to combine a story in there, writing letters, words. And I went to actually 2 different film schools, but I think I never managed to kind of leave the visual arts because I think my approach is one of visual artists. So instead of kind of really thinking about a certain length, story of a certain length and for certain audiences, I'm more kind of stuck with the medium and the artist approach, which is something like that, not like what you do, but how you do it. Like if you can do certain things with a pencil when you are drawing, so what can you do with a moving image? What is the medium like? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to stretch the idea of what moving image should be like, or how stories are told or should be told. And I think people are capable of understanding and putting things together much kind of more widely than what the Hollywood tradition or the Western narrative, moving image storytelling expects us to do. And sometimes I think it's really, really sad that the rules seems to be super strict. I mean, I do understand because this whole mechanism of moving image is about kind of, it's nowadays the most popular means of representing our surroundings and society around us. So of course people want to have the power to say how we should do it and what is our history and how we should see the present day. A bit like what it used to be with history books. What actually has been interesting for me for a longer time is like how to present images so that they are not always subordinate to the story or telling the story, so that they could, is there a chance to show an image so that you get kind of information of its own? So it doesn't necessarily tell about something about this character or this event or what happens next, or that it's just an image with which you can kind of linger there. So that's maybe, and then of course it's different with different works. I give an example, like the work that you also show here, called The Hour of Prayer. The story is, I mean, the story of the events itself is quite different from the other stories because it's very chronological. And when I wrote the story, I really wanted to emphasize the passing of time, so that I put there like in January and after 3 months, and so kind of expressions that tell about the passing of time. And I wrote the story in a way that it became very chronological, like I've somewhere said, like a kind of chain of pearls that you go from next one to next one. But then again, the images don't follow that, but they are kind of, there's a lot of landscapes and kind of, the images don't say the same thing as what you hear in the story, but they are images of different places. It starts in New York, and then we are in I think in Helsinki, and then we are at the summer cottage in southern Finland, and then we are in northern Norway, and then it ends in Benin. So that's kind of, the images kind of somehow in a certain way contradict the chronology of the story. There was a question why I started to work with the Annunciation theme. what would the miracle look like nowadays? And what would the Annunciation event, the situation that the angel comes and then the Holy Ghost makes Mary pregnant, and what would the miracle, would it be really a miracle, and what would happen? And then I kind of wanted to explore it and ask the question kind of aloud with a few people. And I didn't want to write a script. I mean a proper one which says that here we start and it goes here and this is where we end. Because I didn't have the answer and I wanted to find the answer. And if I would write, I would have to kind of somehow write it there. But instead then I wrote a kind of a structure. But then for the people with whom I worked, people and animals, I kind of left it open and told the women that this is what I've written, but you are welcome to say what you want. And yeah, but there in the script there was the locations and a guideline for the one professional actor that we had there, and she kind of kept the thing kind of together. So yeah. I think that I wish that for every piece you could have a kind of different, or have acting that comes out of the piece, so that there isn't certain good acting or certain bad acting, but that with the people and animals you could kind of create the world there. But that's actually also difficult because people want to see certain kind of things. And this is the result of the Hollywood thing. And then people are so easily saying, oh, what bad acting. And then I try to say, what is bad there? And I'm not only talking about my works now, but it's kind of, I think it's so much related in the piece itself, that what we see. And certain kind of acting could look bad in another kind of piece, another kind of work, another kind of film. There's also a more serious side to this that I want to bring the animals in. Not only that I feel kind of that I'm very sensitive towards kind of in a way that what happens to the animals very much, even maybe too much, touches me. I feel sometimes that I wouldn't be like that. But it's why the animals are in there. It's kind of because of that we wouldn't be so human-centered. And we would kind of experience the nature around us and see ourselves as part of it, not as the kings and queens of the planet Earth, but kind of realize our situation more seriously. It kind of tries to redefine the human through the animals, their presence, and then through the presence of the kind of the divine, or what we kind of think of divine, which is kind of used to kind of really tell us what we are, how we should be. And so kind of those both are there with the humans. The form of the piece is really crucial to the work itself. When you are inside the space, you have 4 screens surrounding you as a viewer. So the situation is immediately that you can't see everything at the same time. And it has a lot to do with the editing, and it also has to do that you have to create a kind of cinematic space, their own kind of in the screens, but also then when you have screens around, and there are situations where one actor is speaking, let's say here, and then speaking to another one who is on the opposite screen. So it kind of incorporates the space in between. But what it also does, it kind of takes away the position of a, like privileged viewer, because there isn't a certain way of seeing. There isn't a certain path that you can just sit down and then let yourself to be taken in. First of all, it kind of denies a certain kind of perspective to things, denies a certain kind of order to knowledge, and kind of denies that there's one certain kind of truth in the history, and kind of emphasizes the fact that we really have to choose. And then again, it's not only that you miss something, then it's also that you are kind of surrounded with things that you get plenty, on the other hand. It's like, maybe it's like sitting somewhere in the middle of the nature, that you can't see it all, but then you can hear, and then you always know that, oh, there's something more. It started actually with the Annunciation, because for the beginning, for the Annunciation piece, we shot landscapes, snowy landscapes, and then I thought that after the landscapes we could kind of go on and shoot big trees in the forest. And of course it's obvious that it's impossible, but then when you really kind of confront it, it's kind of you really realize that it's not possible, that there are very many limitations with the camera and the aspect ratio of the film image. And so if you try to shoot a tree, a tall spruce, you can't do it, because either you just shoot part of it, or if you walk back, it's not a portrait of a spruce or an image of a spruce, but it's a landscape. And if you use a wide-angle lens, it gets distorted. It's not the spruce kind of a real image. It's not a document of the spruce, but it's a document of the film mechanism. And it was so funny kind of and revealing that the more we kind of planned and studied the options, that we had to find a certain kind of tree to get it into 5 images, and it had to be a certain width with a certain height, so that it would nicely fill in the screens, the images. And we never found that one. And then we ended up that we have to have 6 images. And then it was a really heavy wind, which actually made it really nice. And but anyway, basically, the more we went into the kind of try to capture the tree in the images in a way what we humans think that a spruce looks like, the more we just had to go back, and we were kind of hidden inside the technical equipment, and which are actually made for the extension for the human perception. So kind of we ended up seeing ourselves, you know, kind of, and this is our viewing, and this is what we want to see, and this is how we see, and this is how our cameras are like, and so it was kind of a really kind of an interesting project. I think like the best we can do with another living creature, whether it would be another culture like Algerians, or whether it would be a tree, that we can stand by, we can kind of stand next to, we can coexist and kind of communicate from being there with our own context, our own background, our own language, our own means of expressing. But we can't really capture anything. We can kind of knock, maybe, or however you want to say, but we have to accept it, that we have our limitations, and we are, like von Uxküll says, that we all are living in the different worlds that exist simultaneously. That's how it is, I think. I think he was a really clever person, clever human.